recording.
Roy, after 58 years of marriage, you know, like Clark Gable used to say, I don't give a shit.
Okay, that's on tape, by the way.
Very good, very good. Let me double that.
Play that at your funeral.
We were at this Warwick hotel there in Houston at a sales conference. And this friend of mine, may so rest in peace, was ex-Marine like myself. So we walked out of the bathroom and this guy said something to him. So he turned around and he bumped him. I said, oh my God, this is what happened. And I grabbed him. This guy, this friend of mine was a big sucker, you know, so I grabbed him. And then this guy, very well, you know, a very nice, expensive suit. You know, he didn't grab the guy, but he, you know, sort of controlled him and stuff, and then he stood him up and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he says, he confronted my friend. And he says, Mister, he says, do you know, he says, that you have just hit a United States Senator?
Wow.
And my friend said, why in the hell didn't you tell me that? And kapow!
Ah, the other kapow!
And he down him, I had to jump on top of him. Why in the hell did you tell me? He said, I said, this is it. I said, we're gonna go to jail and lose our jobs and stuff. Yeah.
Nothing.
I mean, paper, nothing happened.
You're lucky.
The guy probably had some kind of guilt feeling, you know, about something.
Yeah.
I was scared, you know, because you know, with this big gorilla hands, this guy, if he keeps on belting, he's gonna kill him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we wanted to interview you guys so that we could kind of learn a little bit more about our family history. So we wanted to know what you remember, you know, or what do you know about our background, our ancestors, you know.
¿De Robledos o de Alfaros?
The Alfaros, I guess. And you know. Yeah, but I mean, you know, like like Grandma Kella, everything, you know. Anything,
where were they born? Where'd they come from?
Yeah.
Let me see. Granddad and grandma, Granddad Julio and grandmom Micaela.
Yeah.
They were born. Let me see. They were born. I think in Matehuala, San Luis Potosí.
Oh.
And then mother was born in Mesquite, Matehuala, San Luis Potosí, something like that. and let me see. And Lupe was about. She was born 1 year after. 1 year after I was born, so we were very close. We were
so Lupe is Grandma Kella's
Alfaro Regalado from Chicago.
Okay.
So she was born 1 year before I was.
Oh, okay.
So we were just like that. We were like sisters.
Yeah.
So and we stuck together.
Yeah.
Very much, and more so than Fannie, Concha, Concepcion. She would first grandma would take us to the dances.
Really?
So
Grandma Kella?
She was sick, Grandma Kella. And when she got sick, then she passed it on to Concha. And Concha, when we didn't want to do whatever we wanted to do, she would say, well, I will not get you. I will not take you to the dance tonight.
Yes. Yeah.
So she was very vengeance.
Yeah. What do you remember about Grandpa Julio? Because I don't remember him very much. I remember seeing him, but I don't seeing him on the porch or something. But not. Grandpa Julio.
Grandpa Julio.
Yeah.
Let me see. Well, I remember that they used to live in Mesquite, and then they moved to Guatemala, San Luis Potosí.
Oh.
And
But you're talking about
granddad.
Grandma Kella's husband.
Right.
Okay. Oh.
So
Okay.
that's and grandma's sister was Sida, and she
Grandma
had
Barista?
she had two a brother and a sister, and Enrique Banda was Grandma Kella's brother. Right.
What happened to them, Thea?
He passed on.
But I mean, his kids and their family, did they settle in the valley too, or were they in Mexico?
Let's see, he had two daughters. They were in a convent, and they were being taught in that convent. And then he had a son, Jose, we call it Pepe, and I guess they lived in Monterrey for a while, and then my uncle Enrique, he used to live with my aunt Cira Banda de Bárcena.
Banda de what?
Banda de Bárcena.
De Barcela?
Bárcena. And then she had only one daughter, and she was Natalia Bárcena.
And they lived in Monterrey? They lived in Monterrey?
They lived in Monterrey, and I was when I was there in let me see, what year was that? They just live across from the Ancira Hotel, just across from the Ancira Hotel, and next to the Colonial Hostel. They let's see, that was what year was I over there? I forget what year that was, but anyway, that they lived that very close to I would then they put me in a school where they taught English, so English and Spanish, and it was just a couple of blocks from where I live, so I didn't have to walk too far.
And was this in the valley? No, in Monterrey. In Monterrey? In Monterrey. You lived in Monterrey? How long did you live there?
I was there about a year.
About a year.
And grandma, Encira, when Dad was sick, she wanted me to take. She took me when I think I was about 9 years old, something like that. And she wanted to help Dad, but Dad, his pride, he didn't want any help. So she decided to take me, and that way he would send him some money, just because I was with him. But it was just across from Hotel Ancira, and right behind Imperial Hotel. And the school where I was, it was just maybe a block and a half from where we lived, so it wasn't too bad. I didn't have to. And then Uncle Enrique Banda, her brother, he would like to go and take us to the cemetery when to visit the buried ones, the relatives that were, and I remember that there were some huge he call them papaya avocados, something like that. Anyway, they were big, and he would just take some of those little French bread and he would slice them up and he would put the and we would eat there and he would just take sodas with us. So we enjoyed that.
You enjoyed going to the cemetery.
We enjoyed that. We didn't know any better. But it was great.
How old were you when you went to Monterey? How old were you? You were 9?
I think I was about almost nine years old when that happened. But it was a lot of fun. And then he had a daughter, 2 daughters. They were going to religious school, and one daughter she was almost married age, but she never did get married. But then I would go. I still have a picture because she would take me to shopping with her, and I enjoyed all that. Well, that's all I remember.
How about living in when y'all moved to? How about living in the valley? What can you tell us about that? About Grandma Kella and
let me see.
And your dad.
When we moved to the valley, I was not born yet. I was born in Edinburgh. But then granddad, my dad, and they had an aunt and an uncle there in Edinburgh, and they were already established their home and everything, and so they took us. They took us, and I let me see. I remember she saying that when I was still of age, I don't know how old I was, but then they would sit me in a chair that would swing, and so that Mom to take care of me, she would just swing me and had me there in the. They had some hooks in the ceiling, so while she was taking care of me and doing her work.
Yeah.
So she just told us. She just told us, of course, that. So we were very young, but as far as I remember that when I grew up, then she would told me, my aunt would say, look, those are the nails, the hooks where I had the swing and all that. So that was kind of funny. Yeah. And
What year were you born in? What year were you born in, Fannie?
29.
29. Okay. And how long had your mom and dad been living in Edinburgh before you were born? Do you know when they moved to Edinburgh?
Yeah. Probably about a year.
A year, okay.
A year, yeah.
Okay.
About a year or something like that.
So did they get married in Mexico or here?
No, they got married in Mexico. And then as soon as they got married, they came over to Edinburgh, and they were staying with Aunt Ignacia and what was his name? Rafael Salazar. They were Salazars at the time. But I don't remember too much about all I remember that they had a cow. They had cows and calves and pigs and whatever. That was the time that they could
have animals.
They could keep animals.
So when they came to Edinburgh, did they come to be where their house is still? I mean, in that same area, or when you were growing up, did you grow up in that same general area where Grandma Kella's house is today?
Let me see. I guess I did. Until we let me see. We were with until grandma, and then they brought in our great granddaddy. He was very Spaniard. He was blue-eyed and real pink lips.
What was
he was
his name?
very
Do you
Spaniard. And great grandma was mostly Indian style. So that's where we got the dark complexion.
What were their names?
He was Atanasio Alfaro, and she was Epifania. That's why my dad brought me Epifania because he grew up with grandma had another child, and so then she would take care of granddad, dad.
Yeah, your father.
Mostly. So he grew up.
He was very close to his grandmother.
Very close to.
I see. And your dad's name is Atanasio too, right?
Atanasio.
Yes.
Atanasio
Okay.
Alfaro.
What can you tell us about him, Tio?
Evarista Quiroz Alfaro.
Okay.
What can you tell us about him?
About granddad?
Your father.
My father. Let me see. He was. He used to work at he was chief of he had some men under him because he worked at a packing shed. So he was in charge of these men, and that's all I remember about him. And I remember that when he was when he, let me see, when I guess it was after school that she made me a jean skirt. So
a jean skirt.
A jean skirt. So we could help Dad because he was gonna pick cotton, and I would just kind of take the cotton off the plant, and I would in my little bag.
Yeah.
He gave me a little bag and he would just pour it on his bag, and then he would sing me. Mamá Inés, que bien te ves con esa náhuatl volteadas al revés, because they look at revés to him, wrong side up. So he would sing that to me because I guess he liked us. He loved us, and he was happy that we were. But that was when he got sick, and then after he got sick, and then he started he was in charge of some men in the packing shed. But when he got sick, then on summer he would just go in and pick some cotton. I remember.
Oh, okay.
But he was he liked when they moved over to some uncles, some Tío let me see, Tío Rafael Salazar and Ignacia Salazar. They were our uncles where they first came in. When they first came, and like I said, when I was born, because I was born here in Edinburgh, and so when I was born, so that Mom would help in the kitchen, that they would hang the what you call it, the swing thing. They would hang it from the roof, so that she would keep track of me. That's what I remember, and I know that they had some horses. They had a ranch, and they had horses and cows, and they had a cow. They had a cow in their backyard, and someone would take care of it. They had little calves and pigs, of course.
Yeah.
But then I remember that when our cousin Ben, he was so glad that I had just got back from Monterey. So he went over and got a horse, and Josephine, because she wanted to be up there, and it was just Lupe and myself that our cousin Ben helped us climb on, and then so. Because she was so angry because she couldn't get on there, so she could shoo.
Make the horse run.
And then the horse just slide down. And then I said, "Oh my goodness!" One of her legs was one of her behind was on her leg. Oh my God. Well, that was something else. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's about all I remember about that time.
It sounds like y'all had some fun times. Like you had sounds like you had a very good childhood. You have good memories, is what I'm saying.
Oh yes. We had. Let me see. When let's see. I remember. I guess when I must have been 9 or 12 or 9 or 10 years old, and we. I remember that the ants were just across the alley.
Yeah.
And that's where they keep their pigs and cows and everything else, and outhouses.
Oh yeah. It's different times, huh?
Different times. Yeah. Way in those years. I don't know what year it was, but anyway.
So were you just a lot of families that would live together? Like were y'all just kind of living together, helping each other out?
Yeah. They had probably a whole half a block of space so all of her sons and son-in-laws and whatever, you know, they built their houses right in the same lot. So they'd like to have everybody in the same. So I remember it was nice. That's all we knew.
That's what you knew at the time.
Yeah. So we were used to that.
What can you tell us about Grandma Kella? I mean, I only knew her as she was older, but not when she was younger.
Grandma Kella?
Yeah.
Let's see. She had just another brother. A brother that he. But I remember that my great granddad and my great grandma were my granddad brought him over here to fix some papers or something, passports or whatever. So he brought him to Edinburgh, and at that time they were, everybody lived in the same, this uncle Rafael Salazar, they had a big about a block lot, and so when they got married, everybody built their houses in the same lot, but I remember that they were. That's why we wound up visiting them. I mean, staying with them, because they had a lot of rooms space. Yeah.
What did Grandpa Julio do for a living?
Oh, he was a mechanic, or he was a body body shop. He worked with your dad.
Well, they were both mechanics.
They were both. Mechanics.
Oh, they worked in the same place?
Yeah.
That's where
They were co-workers.
Where did they work for you?
It's
Alberto's.
no. There was no Mexican with any businesses there.
Walter.
Yeah.
Garage. He was a garage something.
These people were grandfathers of the Yoders.
The Yoders?
The Yoders.
Yoder Ford?
Yeah. They had their business was right next door to where what was it on that corner? Right across from St. Joseph.
What's Ford?
I forget.
Wasn't that a Ford dealership or something that was there?
Yes, there was a Ford dealership, but before that, it was, in other words, it was something else before this guy bought this place out.
Did they make carriages? Grandpa, I don't know. Somebody told me that they helped make carriages.
Did they make carriages back in the day?
I don't remember that.
Or was it just cars?
No, they worked on cars. They worked on the Model A's and all these.
I think you're thinking about when he was in Mexico, he might have worked on carriages or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if my dad said that they worked, or they were working on like upholstery.
Upholstery, yeah.
Upholstery of the vehicles.
Compadre Cando specialized in what is that fancy name that they have for like car accidents and stuff, you know, and then he would repair them. What is it? They call that specialty?
Yeah.
Body.
Were they doing estimates?
Body repair.
Okay.
All that stuff. There's a name for that.
Restoration?
No. It's But they were, my dad and Don Julio, they were very, very good friends.
Very close.
They would visit each other 2 or 3 times a night. I mean, a week.
So, what can you tell us about going to school? Going to school.
Going to school?
Oh, okay.
I had a wonderful time. Thank
Let me see.
Pleasure meeting you guys.
About going to school?
Yeah.
We used to go to Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah, it's still there. It looks good.
So we had to walk. We had to walk because we were.
Stephen F. Austin was
We
Mexicans.
lived in two.
Was
Sam-
what?
Mexicans only. And Sam Houston was Anglos.
Really? There were only two schools.
We had to walk about, oh my goodness, 4 or 5 blocks, something like that. It was. We lived on 1217 Champion.
Yeah.
And East Champion, and then there was a Cecil Garcia's
Only in a little blue store.
grocery store, and then we would just turn on the. It was, what was it? What street was that? The 21st. Not the 21st, was it?
18th,
18th. No, that's 21st.
21st.
Was it 21st?
Yeah.
And it was straight down to the street, to the school. So we had to go real well. Make sure that we got there on time.
Yeah.
And if not, they would paddle us.
Really?
Because we got late, and that was Mr. Pickens. And we just hated him because he would, you were late. Even if we were 5 minutes late, he would have the paddle ready.
Oh my goodness.
At first he would just hit us in the hand, or if it was other times he would hit us in the back.
Yeah. Wow.
He was
Times are
ugly.
different.